Get strong.
Today, we want to be able to have a conversation. And again, I want to welcome you. I am Dr. David Glover, if you happen to not know. David Glover, and I am the founder of Spiritual Fine Arts. And here we have a platform where we have conversation. I want to engage with you. I love to be able to get your perspective as well as my perspective. And I'm bringing everything that I have. I'm bringing all of my years of church experience, going through the different rankings at church, my collegiate experience, whether that was in seminary or when all the way up to the doctor. I'm bringing everything and coming together because I believe that we are a full, holistic person, and we don't always deal with the fullness of us. We separate natural and spiritual, and I don't think that it is my thing that we're holistic. God made us whole. So we need to be able to cater to our whole selves. We need to be able to um, have our whole selves involved in everyday occurrences and all that is happening. So we're talking about remembering the you today. So a lot of times we focus on the spiritual, we focus on getting our natural, but we don't focus on the integration of the two. We don't talk about or realize or understand or fully commit to understanding who we are naturally through the spirit or spiritually through the natural. Either way, reciprocity on each side, there needs to be a balance. And so we want to just talk about that. We're going to talk about how do we conscientiously, how do we cognitively think of our gifts and sustain our gifts so that they're healthy, that they're not overused, that they're not exhausted, that they're not abused, that they're giving us triggers. Just the same way as your body gives you triggers to let you know that it is not well, a headache or a pain or whatever those triggers, those symptoms are, that is a greater message that something is amiss, something is awry in your body. Your spirit man or your gifts gives you signals to let you know, hey, something's not right, something's done wrong, or something. So how do you always entertain that? How do you look at that? How do you gauge that? How do you capture that? How do you grow from that? How do you use that data? Right? So that's what we want to talk about today. So we want to talk about remembering in the midst of your gifts, remembering you. And a lot of it does stem from or come off of the thought of emotional intelligence or EI, which is the fact of knowing who you are, being intelligent about your own emotions, knowing your own triggers, knowing what makes you tick, what makes you motivated, what brings you down, and know how that impacts others and how others impact that, and how to regulate that, how to discipline yourself with that. That's called emotional intelligence. And so I'm in perhaps another video or another time we'll dive deeper into that because there's four different segments and they all build on each other in order to make a full realized emotionally intelligent person whose quotient is high, which is like an IQ but it's an EQ, emotional quotient, emotional EIQ maybe. I'm not sure. Okay, but how is everybody doing? I'm so glad that you are coming in. As you're coming in, I want to just we're gonna keep on rolling. Today, I did get vaccinated, and so everything so far so good. I have had a headache, a headache. Not a very massive one, but it was enough of a headache that I knew it was there. So that has been my thing. I think a lot of people or some people have said that they've been sore around the place where they got the shot. I haven't gotten that as of yet. So maybe that may come later. Maybe not. Or maybe it's like a delayed reaction. Like, how sometimes the next day you wake up and then some of the symptoms out there. So we'll see what happens. But either way, I was vaccinated. Okay. So I encourage you to make your choices, to do what you need to do. I'm not here to influence you one way or the other. I am here to say to make sure you take into account all things and make a healthy decision. Make the best decision for you. And you know what that is. Don't let fear and trauma, and there's always a lot of news one way or the other. So make sure you go ahead and make that decision. Okay. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. One of the first ways that you need to be mindful and remember the you while using your gifts is to build in time for reflection. You know, it amazes me. Self-reflection. It's a very powerful thing. Um, Even isolated by yourself and even as a group. When you come, they always say a very good thing, even whatever event you have, to come back together and recap and have a reflection of all of the things that happened, the things that went right, the things that didn't go so well, the things we could have done better, the things that we did a wonderful job, things we were surprised about, things that we can do better the next time. In fact, the only way to build upon any event, anything, is to go back and look at historical data, look at those empirical collections, and see what happened, how many people registered, what were our greatest strengths, what was our weaknesses. And a lot of times we don't take that same thought and process and apply it to our own lives. And that is very, that's unfortunate because it works the same way. We are still, just because we're coming together at 10 people, 100 people, or 50 people, or 4 people, does not mean that process won't work for one person. You come together, you sit down. Have you ever had an aha moment? You look back on your life and you actually see a trend, see a pattern, see something that's happening as you reflect, like I've been here before, I've been, and so you start to take in account of all those different things and say, hey, whether it's good or bad, and say, what does this mean? How should I proceed? Should I continue doing the same thing so I can get the same response because I like the response? Should I grow? Should I change it? But you need to look at, even when you're in your gifts. And I'll tell you, I am simply amazed how mystical and deep we make a lot of things, where growing in grace and in the knowledge of our Lord and in our gifts and all of our application is being able to apply simple pragmatic practices, methodologies that work. And so one of those is just reflection. When you get through singing, I don't understand why. I mean, and a lot of us do it. We'll go back and listen to the video, listen to the taping or whatever it is, and we'll critique ourselves. We'll say what works. How do we feel in that moment? What was going on? What did we prepare? How did we prepare? And how did that carry over and how did that flow through? Same thing with when you're up ministering, if you're preaching or if you prophesying. What was in that? What happened that caused you? Because there is a high and there is a low. There is, just like a good story, there's a exposition and a climax, a build up, and then a resolve and an ending. It's the same thing in all of your gifts. Even if you're doing social justice and you're doing event wise, how did the plans go? How did everything happen? When you're a caregiver, what puts you in the mood and helps you to really feel that compassion? What is your niche even with inside of your gift? Are you prone to be drawn to younger people, the millennials or the elderly, or those who are disenfranchised? All these nonprofits are the results of giftings. And so we have to understand, how do you remember yourself while you're out there, while you're doing the things that you're doing? The one thing is, number one, to cultivate, to learn your craft, learn what you're about, learn what your gift does, learn how it operates, so that you're working smarter and not harder, even in your gift. Even knowing that, if you're a prophet, if you take another person with you, what is their strength? Learn who they are, what they are, so that you can volley back and forth, so that one person's not carrying the load of a service, that's one person's not carrying the load of the event. If you're out there, there are so many different ways to in this reflection that you can learn who you are, what triggers make you tick, and what brings you out. What can you, how can you land? I'll never forget one day, I had brought a message, and I have been bringing them messages, several times. So I mean, we're in the 30s or 40s of different times I've done it in my, so it's still pretty early in that longevity of bringing messages. Um, I had my mentor came to me and said, you know, you do real well. Your beginning, you have that. Your setup is good. Your content is good. She said, but you need to learn how. It's like a crash landing. Then my other auntie came behind it and basically was like, you need to learn how to end. Like, what you just like walk off or something. Like, what is that about? Like, how you need to find a way. And sometimes I think we get so so minded that it's supposed to be automatic. You just stand up there, and they used to kind of teach this. You know, you open your mouth and what comes out is supposed to come out. No, 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 no. What comes out should come out by way of what we have prepared. Now, I understand that there are some people who some utterances do come, and you weren't planning on going those way, but there is still a structure even in that to know how do you when that happens, how do you come out of that? How do you make that presentable? How do you give your best self even in that? Even in the faux pas, how do you recover? How are you resilient? If you do say the wrong thing, do you fall apart and just, no, no, no. How do you? So there are some benefits in knowing and reflection, seeing what happened, checking in with yourself. How did I feel in that moment? Or if you're cognizant enough, and hopefully you are, how do I feel in this moment? I'm soaring, I'm feeling it. And why am I feeling this? What do I normally do? What is my activity? What is my normative method when I get here? Do I turn to the audience or do I turn to one-on-one? Do I want intimate one-on-ones or do I want a mass or do I want a little bit of here, a little bit of there? There are all these different types of acumens or different demonstrations that can happen while you are in action, while you are doing, and it really depends on number one, your gift, because if you're a nurse, can you handle more than 5 patients at a time, or do you just like the one? Do you like to spread, or do you like to see a group come together? What is your gift? What is it? What does that mean when you reflect on my best felt self, my best performances, my best demonstrations have been in these. You need to write that down and you need to keep a track record. You need to reflect on that so that you can know how to build on that or how to value that. It gives you self-value. It gives you self actualization. If you know that once it gets, at a certain point in the morning, I blunder a lot. Like I am not there. I am not a morning person. So I would not want to schedule myself for mornings. That's just who I am. And so if in the event I do have to do a morning, what do I do then? What is my plan of action? So I present my best self because the my gift is there. Who I am is still there. It's in place. But am I free enough? Am I in my right settings? Am I in the best frame of mind? What should I listen to right before I get up there? What should I motivate my morning with? Or you know what I'm saying? And then you have these people who get up and they're so explosive right at the beginning. It's just like, whoa, whoa. And then they die out or fizzle out. Well, you have to remember if you're presenting that there needs to be a flow. There needs to be, I'll never forget, I had a friend that when they got up, and they were just doing the prayer, and I don't want to say like prayer is not, if anybody who knows me know that's my thing. So, but they were up to do prayer, but when they came in, they came on 1,000. They didn't come in on 10, they came on 1,000. And it was just like, woo, woo. Um, it was more than a shock effect because sometimes that does work, but it was that's where they were because they had been already on their way. They had been on their way since that morning when they found out they had the prayer or whenever. And so by the time they got to the mic, they were already ready. Well, we weren't. And unfortunately, we couldn't get to where you were fast enough. And if your service is for us, you're praying for us, then we have to be involved. We don't want to be prayed to. We want to be involved. Let us be involved. That's the only way that it all works. So you have to be able to be creative, to be sensitive to who you are speaking to. But then learn all those things. Hear all the different accolades and remarks, and some of them don't feel good, some of them don't sound good, but you take them and you understand them and you reflect on them. Okay. Also, take the word should out of your goals. Does it make sense? Take the word should out. I should do this. No, because should actually is a word that has you hanging in balance. It's a word that does not have complete commitment at all. It acknowledges a thought, a plan, a sensitivity, in a sense. It says it is right and I should, but it does not have commitment to it at all. I should lose weight. Does not mean that you have a plan that has been enacted, that you don't have goals, you don't have that should. And because it leaves room for variance, it leaves room, and we want to be intentional about our gifts. I should read the book on, whatever your gifting, your areas are. Okay, whatever your giftings are, whatever your and again, I frame it with or the core of it, if I should say, is in what we typically call giftings in the church. But your giftings are not for in the church, and when I say in the church, I'm talking about in four walls. I'm saying that your giftings should only be honed, charged, surged, discovered, nurtured in the church, but it should be demonstrated outside the church. Your prophetic gift, I don't need you to run a revival to prophesy. I think your God does gets more glory out of you going out and at your neighbor, and you ain't got to say "Thus saith the Lord," because a lot of that's show. A lot of it, I'll say 70 to 80% of it's show, and then some of it's ignorance because that's all you know, and that's fine. But I prophesy every day. I speak over something every day. Now, mind you, your words that have power are prophetic because you are a believer. That comes, and the truth is, your words have power whether you believe or not. There have been empirical data done by science that has proven that words have energy that create or destroy. So being prophetic is a greater level, a greater endowment, a greater investment into speaking over, right? But I can speak over without having the tag, the front line, thus saith the Lord. I just need the Selah right there. Because a lot of it is just um, learned behavior, stanzas and phrasings of the church. It does not, you speak over your life when you wake up in the morning and say, good morning. Did you not know that saying good morning has a positive reinforcement of acknowledgement of the day? Now, we just go around and just say it. But the truth is, the energy within good morning commands my day to become good. Now, it may not feel good, but according to what we know and understand, we know all things work together for the good. So it's still a good morning, but our acknowledgement of it places a demonstration and a perspective that we look at, okay? So I just want to drop that nugget. That was for free. Hey, Francis, sister, I enjoyed your last video. Y'all go, Francis Baxter. She is healing beautifully, I believe. Make sure I said that. Please let me know if I said that right, Francis, if you're still here. And Mark Woodard, bless you. So we want to be able to balance ourselves. No, take the word should out and set goals, smart goals. And smart, I'm not saying smart as intelligent, even though it is intelligent. The acronym SMART, which is what specific, measurable, SMART. You can look it up. time bound and all those things. So we want to make sure that we set goals that we can actually articulate and actually commit to and accomplish. We want to make sure that they are realistic. We want to make sure that we are very specific about them. We want to make sure how long. We want to put them in a time bound. So we want to take should out and make sure that we make a commitment to whatever we're saying. I should pray in the morning. That's very nice. That's no commitment. That's just acknowledgement that it is not a bad thing. But I will pray for 20 minutes from 6 to 7 for the next 3 weeks every morning. It's a smart goal. It's something that's achievable. It's something that's measurable. It's a time bound. So you have to put those in place and take shit out so that your life is on a trajectory forward, so that you're in a process of moving forward, that you're not stagnant and standing still. And what are you doing about your gifts? I'm going to commit. I actually joined one of my commitments that I did, even as a diversity, inclusion, and diversity, equity, DE&I, so diversity, equity, and inclusion. Um, I went on LinkedIn and I told myself I need 3 groups to join in so that I can be a part of like-minded people, because that is one of being a spokesperson, a social justice person, a person that speaks out. It's part of my prophetic gift to speak truth to power. I am here for leaders. I am built for leaders. I'm here to show a mirror to leaders. I'm here to show a way to leaders. So in order to do that, I surround myself by the things that accomplishes that. But I didn't go and say I should be around more people. That didn't bring me commitment. It wasn't until I actually went out and put myself into groups, or at least made the request and got accepted into these groups, that I was able to check that off and say I am now helping and aiding and remembering who I am, remembering my purpose. Remember the last one we did is remember your why. Why am I here? Why do I have this gift? And so since I have this gift, I don't want to get lost in the gift and abuse my gift or allow my gift to be abused. I want to remember me in the gift, because we're one. We're not inseparable. Well, we are inseparable. We're not separable. Okay, so we are one. We're holistic, and God is concerned about the whole you. You should be giving and paying attention to the whole you. What is your gift saying to you today? Have you exhausted your gift and you need to go somewhere and be refreshed? Which is the next thing. Give yourself grace, grace of time. And we're going to talk about grace of time in 2 ways. The first way that we say give yourself grace of time is allow yourself build in time to rest, build in time to decompose, to repose, and to get yourself together, to let it out. Don't overcommit yourself to stuff. Don't over traumatize yourself. And a lot of this we find burnout. That's where we get burnout. And you find it all over. You find it in the medical fields where doctors are burnt out because so many patients that they have to, their case loads are so big, or social workers, or um, parents. All of it could get overloading, or even social justice. You get just overwhelmed by this, but you have to be able to carve into your week long. Your week long, hey, this is my schedule, but I'm going to rest this day, this time, and I'm going to turn off my phone. Now, it's going to be especially if you're not in the habit of it, it's going to be very um, tiresome. The thought of it is like you wake up and the first thing you do is grab your phone, check your messages, and you check your messages right before you go to sleep. And if you got to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, you take your phone with you and check and see if anything is happening. Okay, well, you need to carve out time for you to sit there and sit in reflection. Going back to the time for reflection, but you got to rest. You got to just let it all out with all of the things that are throws are coming out at you and life. You have to make sure you are intentional about getting rest and grace yourself with time for rest. Also, grace your time of development. You're not going to be who you are going to be right now. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with that. Relax. Don't take yourself so serious. And I know if you came up like I came up in the church, we were very serious. Oh, we were serious. We couldn't make an error, couldn't make a mistake. It was as if God was walking around waiting on us to make a mistake, waiting on us to say something incorrect so he could snatch us and so he can beat us and he can shame us. That's not God. That is not God. God is not the author of shaming people. His love is encompassing. In fact, he said, love covers a multitude of fault and sin. But you have to be able to have that same grace. And sometimes you're going to have to relearn, unlearn some things, and relearn. It happened to me. My testimony is because I had a incident that happened. I was on a road trip with a stranger. I knew the other two passengers, but they picked up this young lady along the way, from Holy Convocation, Memphis for Koji. And on our way back, as they're dropping her off, whole other city and state, they she turns to me. She says, I know you're not. I understand that you are not very easily accepting of people giving you a word." And she said, "But I have to do what God has told me to do." And so of course, all these walls come up everywhere because you are what you have discerned correctly is I don't. Probably not, but go ahead. Go ahead. She said, I just have this one message. The reason that you are so hard on people, the reason that you are so unyielding and almost unforgiving of others and their flaws and their imperfections is because you have learned to be that way with you. You have been taught to be that way with you. But God is not like that. And you have to be able to be kindly affectionate to one another, but you can't get there without being kindly affectionate to yourself. When I tell you the liberation that I got, now I didn't even receive all of it in that moment. I kind of just took it and I just held it. I didn't say much of anything. And y'all forgive me, I forgot this thing scrolls down. ah! I forgot that this thing scrolls down. So people have been talking to me. Thank you, Francis. Okay, so it is called um uh oh, she put the no, no, that's not you. So hers is called Healing Beautifully. Check her out. Wonderful, wonderful testimony, wonderful prayer last week or this week, whenever it was aired. But listen, when we learn how to have grace with ourselves, when we learn how to have be kind to ourselves, grace ourselves, saying, "Okay, I didn't do that right." I also had a young man that came to me, and this is when, again, I was just on the battlefield. I was so churchy. I was just in Jesus, and he was in me. I was just sitting at his feet at least 9 hours a day, and then slept 6 hours and got up again to get up. Um, and he said to me, he said, I see something, and I have to tell you what I see. He says, I have to let you know that it's okay if you make a mistake in prophecy. I immediately threw that out. No, no, no. You don't. Now, balancing this is pivotal. I do not believe that you carelessly go around saying God said, giving inaccurate words, words from your. But you have to understand at the same time that you are human. And the Bible records. Now, and I shun this, and I'm over here on prophetic stuff because that's just where it is right now. But this applies to everything. But let's talk about prophetic since we're right here, because we have a lot of people that will say if you give an inaccurate word or a word that doesn't come to pass or wrong word that's a lying, that's a false prophet. And that is so very untrue. It's very unfair and very untrue because the fact of the matter is we have scripture that back up that prophets that are called by God can say the wrong thing. I'll prove it. It was recorded in the Bible. If I need to find a verse in scripture, I will get it for you. Put it down there because I'm not going to go digging for it because I'm talking. But where David said, I want to build God a tabernacle. God, I have a house that is all beautiful, and I see that the house of God is lying in waste. I'm very concerned, so I'm going to go and build this house. The prophet sitting by him that had been used of God over and over was God's man, turned and said to him, do what's in your heart, and God's going to bless it. Make sure there's nothing. Do whatever. This is what the prophet told him, God said. Where the Bible then records that the prophet left, and as he got to the court, he didn't get out of the whole system of the king, the campus of the king. But when he got to that court, the God spoke to him and said, "No, go back and tell him, no, you're not. You're not building nothing. Your son will. You not." He had to go back and retract what he said because of the correction of God. But God didn't throw him away and say he was a false prophet. We have to be very careful, and we're very unforgiving about the things we need to be forgiven about. Hey Wayne, we're very unyielding about things that we can't we have expectations that we can't live up to. So we have to be very careful about, I mean, just because a singer hit the wrong note doesn't mean that they can't sing, right? Or organist may hit the wrong chord. It doesn't mean that they're not skilled in playing. And sometimes they're not even at the level that they're going to be. They may be starting out as novices, but we got to make room that their structure or their construct or their theologies or their understandings has not blossomed into where they're going to be. And we need to have grace. But a lot of us cannot have grace on them because we never had grace on ourselves. We don't even allow, we're so nervous about getting up doing what we should be doing because we know that we don't want to be judged the way we know we judge people. We don't want to reap the words that we know we give somebody else. I'll stand and say I was one of those. But it was because we were taught in the church to be thou perfect. And perfect was only given to us in one connotation, in one formatting. It was actually without flaw, blemish, but that's not the perfection. The posture of the heart and intent and motive is perfect, even if it comes through a flawed vessel, because you're still flawed. According to your Bible, all of your righteousness are filthy rags. So who's perfect? Right? But you got to be able to have grace. You have to be able to allow yourself to make those mistakes. I didn't do that just right. I didn't end that just right. I didn't fix that just right. It didn't come up like I wanted to. I'm going to go and I'm going to look at some other people. I'm going to do some research. Do your homework. How are others doing? Don't reinvent the wheel. Now be yourself. Don't become a carbon of anybody. But if singing has been done, key signature has been established. You don't need to make a new circle of fifths. Those who are musical know what I'm talking about. Okay? If you're there's already things that are already cemented. Now you're going to come and add your flair, add who you are to it, add what God has given you, add what has been imbued into you. Yes, but please don't think that you need to reinvent something that's already. Start with a template and then go thereby. If you're sewing, you start with a pattern, but then your mind imagines other things. And sometimes you imagine something that doesn't have a template. You imagine something that has never been done, you can't find. In fact, if you're getting your doctor's degree, you're not going to recreate anything. You're going to build on, but then something about yours has to not been done already. Otherwise, you're just writing a report. You're not doing research. Not the research that's going to require and cause you to attain a doctor's degree. No, no. What you has to be able to bring what has already been done, research that has already been verified and peer reviewed, all that, right? And then you're going to add on something that has not been. It's the same way with your gifts. Your gift, there's nothing new under the sun, the Bible says. So your gift has been here before. Has it been in your body? This is the first time you've been in your body. Hasn't appeared in this dispensation. And it has to be patterned for what your niche of people, who you're called to, who you are going to, okay? So, and I hope this is helping you. If this is helping you, let me know. I do see comments in there. So thank you so much. Everybody wants to feel like they're making a difference. So now, what are you feeding yourself? When we talk about remembering you, what are you ingesting? What are you digesting? What are you allowing yourself to be around? What is your environment? I talked about earlier making the commitment to be around like-minded people that I made. You know, to go out to, and what was interesting is because I joined them just so that I can have conscientiousness and get some more information and all that. And it's where I got a lot of my speaking engagements of 2019. I think that's when I did it. 2019, 2020. Yeah, 2020 actually, 19 and 20. So, but being around like-minded people, they see your value, they know who you are, and they're able to pull it out of you. And it can happen authentically, it can happen naturally, organically. But you got to show up. He can't use you until you show up. He can't invest in you until you show up. He can't teach you until you show up. He can't, you got to give him. You can't be like the man, the foolish servant that went and buried his gift. But what are you feeding yourself? What are you allowing? Are you around the people that you want to end up with? If you want to have $1 million, you can't sit around people who are getting wick and think that you're going to get there. You got to sit by them. And not because they're going to give you a handout, but they're going to give you something that's invaluable. They're going to feed their charisma into you, their spirit into you. They're going to be able to cast off pearls that you won't even, your train of mind and perspective and ideology will naturally change as you sit around people who are like you or where you're trying to go. Right? So be very sure. Be very sure that you're feeding yourself whether you think so or not. Stagnation and procrastination is still a meal. Mediocrity is still a meal, ingested by many. It's the McDonald's. Not good for you, but people do it all the time. It's quick, it's fast, it's convenient. But you want to go somewhere where they've taken time to nurture their meal, to let it sit, and baste and get all the nutrients in it, that they took care and that their passion shows up in their meal. That's what you want to sit by somebody whose passion is in their life, whose passion matches yours. And sometimes it doesn't even have to match. They just got to have a strong passion. And that passion about what they love will ignite your passion about the thing you love. But you got to be willing. You got to be able. You got to show up. You got to be there. You got to remember yourself. You got to reflect. All those things that I've talked about. I hope, because I'm ending, I hope that you enjoyed this. Like and share. And I hope to see you next week as we continue this remembering segment and series. And so, God bless you. I am Dr. David Glover of Spiritual Fine Arts and Deliverance and Development. And I want to encourage you to keep moving forward, even if you don't know how. Your way will become apparent as you move. There's a story in the Bible that talks about how there were some people, the castaways, they were rejects of the city, and they said, we can either sit here and die or go and take our chances in the city and find food and spoils. And if they kill us, we were going to die anyway. And the Bible says that as they moved, so did God. As you move, I want to prophesy to you. God is saying, as you move, so will He. As you go for the goal will come for you. You're not going to get it waiting. Get up and go forward. Get up and move toward it. Get up and prepare yourself as if you haven't, because it's waiting on you. But as you move, so will God. So will your goal. So will your book. So will your business. So will your relationships as you move. You be blessed forever. God bless you.